The show will begin in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the 7th episode of the season of Gears and Beers, a show where freedom-loving, gun-toting capitalist pigs talk guns, gear, industry news, and dive deep with industry guests. Tonight on the show, we are joined by Dillon from Iowa Firearms Coalition to discuss the Freedom Amendment that's going to be on the ballot on the upcoming election. I'm your host, Box, and I'm also joined by Sam, the owner of ShyWorks, Iowa's preferred Cerakote applicator. This show is brought to you by ShyWorks. Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, if you are unfamiliar with ShyWorks and what we do here, we are a certified Cerakote applicator. So we take your gun and talk to you about what you want it to look like and make that a reality. Whether it's just a simple single color or a flag or a battle-worn design or some crazy theme, whatever you can think up, we can make that happen. So you can check us out at shyworks.com or on Facebook as well as now Twitter, and give us a shout. We can pretty much make whatever you want happen. Also, you can use coupon code LSLF10 on the website. That'll get you 10% off everything on the website, from lasered magazines, Glock backplates, mag bases, shirts, patches, hats, all sorts of goodies. Going to have sweatshirts on there shortly. So coupon code LSLF10 over on shyworks.com.
Absolutely. We are also brought to you by Ballistic Imagery Brand Building Photography. Check them out on Facebook and ballisticimagery.com. Ballistic Imagery, make an impact. Okay, well, that's the fun part of the show. We've got that out of the way. Before we get started, I did want to mention a couple of things now. We have an Android app now, guys. Did you know that? Yeah, you can go to you can find it on the Google Play Store. If you search for either LSLF, or I believe you can also search for Freedom Gospel, and you'll find it. You'll see our logo there, and you can download that real quick. You can get all your Life Short Live free stuff right in one little place. It's like 5 or 6 apps in one. You can browse the forum on there. You can watch this podcast live from there and chat with us. You can watch past podcasts. You can listen to podcasts. You can chat with us on Discord on there. Also, there's instructions on how to join the Discord channel on there, which is actually our most active platform right at the moment. It's kind of fun, actually. I didn't expect it to blow up like it did, but if you're not in that and you want to join a community of dudes like us and yourself, join the Discord app, or download the app rather, and join the Discord. And I think that's all I got to say about that. How you guys doing tonight?
Box, why is it called the Freedom Gospel?
Because I couldn't think of anything better. I couldn't just name it Life Short Live Free because it had free in the name, and they say that's trying to manipulate people by calling it free. I was like, fuck you guys.
Typical Google shit. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. I
Dillon,
like the name Freedom Gospel, though, so.
Yeah, that's
thanks
pretty
for
good.
having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Actually, I've been meaning to have you on the podcast for a long time. You are one of the true freedom guys that I really enjoy following on Facebook. I enjoy all the shit that you post.
You might be the only one.
Well, that can't be true.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Box, what did we want to chat with Dillon tonight about?
Well, as I mentioned in the introduction, Dillon's here to tell us about the Freedom Amendment. So
All right.
the elections are coming up on November 8th. That's correct, right? And this is going to be on the back of the ballot. IFC has
Bottom
been
right
working
corner.
on this for, Dillon says, 10, 12 years, something like that, a long, long time. They've been trying to get this amendment passed, make this amendment to the state constitution. And something that a lot of people, we were just talking about this before the show, a lot of people don't realize is Iowa is only one of the 6 states that does not have the right to bear arms in the Constitution, or the Second Amendment in our own state constitution, if you will. So, Dillon, can you tell us what this this amendment is exactly?
Yeah. So like you said, I was one of 6 states without what we're going to call 2A protections in our state constitution. We're grouped in there with states like California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and I believe it's Minnesota. I think those 5 plus Iowa. Usually we're just ahead of the curve on this kind of stuff, but things happen. We're kind of way behind right now. But yeah, so you can early vote right now up until the 7th. You just walk in, talk to your, I believe it's just your auditor or recorder, and you can early vote. Otherwise, yeah, November 8th, back of your ballot, bottom right corner, it'll explain, or it'll give you the exact verbiage of what's the amendment's going to be, which I can read that off if you want to. I kind of scribbled it down real quick, so I don't know that verbatim, but
Yeah, go ahead.
it's been, yeah, I'll read that real quick. So it's not, I'm going to read it first, and then I'll talk a little bit about it. So the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The sovereign state of Iowa affirms and recognizes this right to be a fundamental right. Any and all restrictions of this right shall be subject to strict scrutiny. So there's some words in there, and I think I've been asked a few times about why we didn't just copy the United States Constitution, Second Amendment, word for word. I think people will be, I don't know, I guess frustrated with it regardless if we went with that or this version. I think that first line there, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, that right there is just kind of, that's a good blanket of that, the actual 2A. So we've just kind of added on to it. And we've also added the strict scrutiny part, which I'm not the expert on this, and this was all written before the Bruin decision. So the Bruin decision is actually a more strict version of even this, but that doesn't mean that this isn't important. It's good to have 2A protections in our state constitution. But strict scrutiny is the highest level of judicial review, and it basically comes into play when the constitutionality of a law becomes challenged. So it's I don't know how to put it into better words, I guess. We've got a pretty good explanation online on iowafc.org under the Freedom Amendment. We have a whole tab for that stuff. It's really hard for me to kind of explain what it is, but it's honestly just the highest level in a court. Go ahead.
If I can interrupt, the way I understood it is they're not giving the benefit of the doubt to these laws that they're lawful. They're going in there looking at them saying this is probably unconstitutional. That's kind of how I understood strict scrutiny.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a legal term. So those, apparently, lawyers and judges and stuff. I think that was part of a lot of the confusion about this, because a lot of people were, well, why did this? And it was when I first read it. It talks about. I was like, why did that even get added to it? Well, it's a legal term, and it was added to there for a reason, and like not to say that you can infringe on our rights, but to say that you can't, without extreme prejudice, extreme scrutiny or whatever. So yeah, absolutely.
It's very similar to that may issue versus shall issue permits to carry. So it's the legal speak, I guess, which I'm not the best with. I'm no attorney,
Well, you fit it right in here. We don't explain anything worth of shit. So you sound like a fucking professor right now, man. You're good.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's been like what's the process? What has been the process for us to make an amendment to Iowa's constitution? This has been a long time coming.
So I've been told that this is not what's considered legislation, because it has to go to a vote of the people. So if you recall, so this has been a work in progress for over 12 years, long before I was involved with IFC. But it began yeah, quite a while ago out of necessity, and it's been through all the motions once already, and there was a mistake that was made, and unfortunately I restart the whole process. But so the process is that it has to go through 2 entire general assemblies, which are 2 legislatures. So that's a 4-year process, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and so it's been quite a process. We've been promoting this thing for quite a while, so we've gotten pretty good at it now. Yeah, there's not much to it. I mean, I think it's pretty simple, I guess.
Simple, but not easy.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes and all that, and here it is.
There was a, and you mentioned earlier you had a hiccup in it because the first time it had passed the House and the Senate, and I think it was twice it already passed, and that's what it needs to be. It needs to go through the first assembly in 1 year. Yep. It goes through another assembly the next year, and then the following year it gets put to a vote, which is where we're at now.
Yep.
And so previous to this happening, the last time it passed the House and the Senate twice, and then the Secretary of State apparently needed to publish something in the newspaper. To my understanding, that said, hey, this has passed the House and the Senate and everything. It's now going to a vote in the next election. He did not do that. And that negated all of the previous stuff that all that, passing the House and the Senate, that just did away with that because he forgot to just or to just post it in the newspaper. And for those of us that that were really rooting for this, and I'm sure, like, I was pissed off and I didn't even have any like real skin in the game, as opposed to, working my ass off trying to get it done. Like all the volunteers that you guys, all the time that you had put in. I can't imagine how pissed off you guys were over that whole freaking ordeal. Yeah. That was a shit situation.
There was definitely a mistake. I mean, we have these checks and balances for a reason. The Secretary of State, Paul Pate, I believe at the time as well. And we've got a good relationship with the guy. He truly is a good guy. But things happen, and I'm glad that if we have these checks and balances, that they actually work, and it did. Unfortunately, it was not in our favor, but it's on the ballot. It's on the ballot now, and to amend the Constitution, it has to go to a vote of the people. So it's a pretty big deal. We've been promoting it far and wide.
Yeah, and I applaud IFC definitely for keeping the faith and keeping plugging away at this thing, because like I said, boy, that would have ticked me off.
Yeah, we're all volunteers, and we spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you're not a lawyer, Dillon, but I do have some questions here that maybe you have at least some insight on, or I don't know, your personal thoughts on. But how will this affect laws made on a federal level?
So state law cannot nullify federal law. All right. So a state law can't negate federal law. It can't bypass it. That's a tough one. So I guess it's a very similar situation to the marijuana stuff in other states, but the difference is this is a constitutional right. I mean, compared to the latter. So I think where those states can kind of get away with legalizing marijuana in essence, and not have the federal government come and crash down unless you're really making waves, essentially. So I hate comparing those two things, but that's just kind of a little example. But yeah, the real thing here is that state law cannot nullify a federal law.
Right. And this is basically just saying that, I don't know though. Like it's interesting. There's been so much shit in the last couple of years. States doing saying that they will nullify federal law in the state. As far as like Missouri passed that one. Yeah, that said. I don't remember exactly what that states, but I know that it does state any law against the Constitution, the Second Amendment, will not be enforced in Missouri, and state officials cannot enforce that law. And there's been several other states that have done similar things.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to see how far states are pushing this stuff, and
Yeah.
especially what I find fascinating is like the suppressor laws and the
Mhm.
SBR laws that are being passed. Because if you're not aware, Dillon, I'm sure you are, but the way that the feds get away with regulating firearms is the interstate commerce clause. They say
Yep.
that firearms are shared or sold between states, so the feds have a way to regulate them. Well, a few of these states have said, well, fine, okay, if the entire firearm or the entire suppressor is made in our state, never leaves the state, sorry, you don't have any way to any justification to regulate this anymore. And they're absolutely 100% right. That's
Mhm.
not the point of what I'm saying, but I think it's interesting to see how far these states are willing to push it. And also, I mean, if you read back to what happened during the Civil War, like ultimately the Civil War was about states' rights and the states
Mhm.
saying, hey, this is what we want to do. And the feds saying, hey, this is what we want you to do. And that was
Mhm.
what led to the Civil War. And now it's like almost history repeating itself. There's a few
Mhm.
states saying, well, fuck you. We're not gonna put up with this shit. So I find
Yeah.
that pretty fascinating.
Yeah. There's a good level of checks and balances that are just throughout our history, throughout our government, everything. Like it's very interesting. I'm learning every single day. Yeah, that whole Texas deal, the interstate making suppressors in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's still. I'll wait for that to pan out. This whole Bruin decision that really just opened up a whole can of worms. But it's really just we already know you shall not infringe on my rights. Period. We already know that. But these states, the federal government, the states have all made these laws that just continue. They're essentially just piling it on, and we got to peel it all back. And that's what IFC's been doing this the whole time. Is just beating these bad laws. Which, if you go look at our legislative victories, a lot of that pertains to defeating bad laws, but passing all this what we call preemption. Why have the Freedom Amendment? Because it's preemptive to anything else you might try to force against us. So when one political party takes over the House and the Senate again, then you can shut us down or pass your bad laws. Well, if this is in place, it's going to deny you of that. Only if it's unconstitutional, right? Which all gun laws are infringements.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more there.
Yeah.
Miles in the comments says, historically, if enough states, around 80%-ish, change or pass their own laws to support a concept, the federal laws will follow suit. But I guess I don't know what other states' constitutions look like. Are they similar to the federal Second Amendment or what? Because I mean,
I've heard
we're the 40, if a lot of states already have these kind of amendments.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't looked at other states' constitutions either. Not a whole lot, but I've heard that there's, I think, 2 or 3 other states very similar to this one, and this is likely, be my quote here, likely going to be one of the more strict, or I don't know, more better written, I guess.
More protective,
more wide reaching.
More protective. That's it. Yes. But we're going to learn from previous states and what have they done and how does that work for them, and then how can we change it and fix it. Also, the 2A sanctuary stuff. We looked at Missouri's SAPA laws and that Second Amendment Preservation Act you talked about earlier.
Yep.
And we think it could have been done a little bit better, the language a little bit better. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's so much to unpack there. And we're pushing more of the 2A sanctuary stuff. We still are, but there's the verbiage in that 2A, the SAPA in Missouri that really was pretty extreme. So it's just, you're going to learn from other states and rewrite things to make it better, to make it work better. That way you're not having a bunch of lawsuits and whatnot after the fact, costing taxpayers more money.
Yeah. You said something important a couple minutes ago, actually, that one of the reasons why we need this, let's say this upcoming election, we win this amendment and that goes in there. But say we lost the Senate and we lost the House for some crazy reason. I don't foresee that happening in Iowa, at least. Mm-hmm. And they start ramming through laws. Well, that is one of the main reasons why we need a Second Amendment in Iowa, is because those laws are now going to be, we have that in our Constitution and we have that protection. And the only way for them to change that is to do exactly what we are working on and what we will accomplish, I feel like, in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. They'd have to change the Constitution themselves and get rid of that amendment. So that's one of the reasons why this is so vitally important, because it's going to swing one way or it's going to swing again. It always does. I mean, the Republicans are in power, and then the Democrats are in power, and then it swings the other way. And that's just the way shit works. So it's going to happen, and it'll be very nice to have this protection in place for us.
Yep. So to run some numbers by you real quick. So IFC, like they started as a group called Iowa Carry back prior to 2010, and 2010 was a big year for us. That was the May to shall issue permits to carry. I can come back and elaborate on that, but that was a big year. Then there was 2017 where the omnibus was at, right? The omnibus in 2017 was a massive bill. That was legalizing suppressors in Iowa, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, removed, you have no duty to retreat, which means now you can actually fight back without first having to run away. Like that's what that was. But that 2012 to 2016, the Democrats held the Senate. In that time frame, there was no good bills, but also no bad bills. But they were trying to force bad bills, anti-gun bills, anti-freedom bills through, and we were able to get those all shut down. But in that same time, I mean, that was a solid 4 years where no progress, no pro 2A progress was being made. But we came back in 2017 and hammered that out. 2021 was the constitutional carry, right? But so constitutional carry is kind of neat, even still. So 2010, there was 40,000 permits to carry. That is not permits to purchase. That's not just the hunter going without a permit to carry, permit to purchase, buying a gun, whatever. This is strictly permits to carry. There's 40,000 of them in 2010. 2021, there's 400,000. We're either at or just hit 400,000. With constitutional carry, that number is even still going up. And that's not permits to purchase. That's strictly permits to carry. That is a massive increase. That's insane. And Iowa's got what, 3 million people? We have over 400,000 permits to carry alone. There's a lot of guns out there. If we were a problem, you'd know about it. But yeah, the constitutional carry 2021, and got some more cool stuff coming up anyways after this Freedom Amendment deal. Some good stuff coming.
That is impressive. I mean, 400,000 carry permits, and and we have a population, what'd you say, around 3 million?
I think we're just over 3 million here in Iowa. And yeah, that's 40 to 400,000 in a matter of 10 years.
And that's over 10% of the population, well over 10% of the population.
And the big cause of that was going from may to shall issue. And that's that words matter deal. So back to that the may issue, shall issue. So at that point in 2010, if the sheriff's the issuing, the chief law enforcement officer of the county, so he's the issuer of those permits. With the may issue, he may or may not issue you that permit to carry. So if he doesn't like you, if he doesn't want civilians to own firearms, if he's a person who just hates guns, we'll say, or only cops want to have guns, one of those guys, he did not have to issue it. But under shall issue, he is required to, so long as you don't, you're not a prohibited person. It's just, we're not going to just give felons guns and pedophiles and stuff like that. But so long as you're not a prohibited person, that sheriff has to give you a permit to carry. And that's what was the defining factor in this. And that just had this massive explosion in permit to carries. It's just massive. I heard that number maybe a year and a half ago. I couldn't believe it myself,
That is impressive. And now it's even more, because that was a big thing, because there's so many people that didn't bother getting their permit because it was work. You had to go and do this, and you had to go and do this, and so many people just put it off and didn't even freaking bother.
Yep.
And now we have the constitutional carry, so hell, even more people are carrying now, because there is no, as long as you're not a prohibited person, you can legally carry and you're good to go. So that's pretty freaking awesome. I love that.
Huge.
Speaking of prohibited persons, what are some of the things you guys have heard that this amendment will not do, that we'll say the opponents are screeching about, saying, "Oh my God, this is going to flood the streets with guns"? And what are some of the things you guys have heard that are false?
So in this issue, we're going to give guns to felons. We're going to give gun rights to felons. There's the pedophiles, the domestic abusers, stuff like that. I think there's on the domestic abuse thing, there's a time constraint attributed to that as well, or attached to that as well. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not an attorney. IFC, we are not attorneys. We cannot give legal advice, but I believe like the domestic abuser stuff, there's a waiting period. I think it's like 5 years, I want to say, but it also depends on the case. But yeah, mostly the felons, violent felons, and that's just one of those things. They're trying to scare people away, to get them to vote against this, which is ridiculous. This is a pro-freedom, pro-liberty bill. We're not out there to arm the bad guys, because we know they don't follow any laws. It's just stuff like that. I mean, we've heard the blood in the streets. There's we had some. So one of our board member, our vice president of IFC, his 2 daughters are the youngest lobbyists in Iowa, the Gibson sisters. They were lobbying back in, when was this? It was just a few years ago, and these 2 girls competed in USPSA, but were not legally allowed to shoot pistols, right? So shotgun rifle only. They were lobbying to make it to where they could go shoot pistols as well. And they were basically called the toddler militia. That was a term thrown out there. Like, it's ridiculous what the things they say. And these are 2 young girls that are competing in a sport that they can't shoot a pistol. And what's the definition of pistol nowadays? I don't know. The HEF doesn't know. So yeah, a short AR-15, that's a pistol they can't even use to compete with, because it's ATF stuff.
Yeah, I was lucky. I was lucky enough to do a couple of pistols for them. Damn nice pistols, actually. So I was pretty excited to do that. But Box, to your point, I don't have anything that it's not going to do. But one thing I did hear about this is somebody was complaining that it's going to make it harder to pass gun control. I think it was a legislator said it's going to make it a lot harder to pass gun control in the state.
Only if it's unconstitutional.
Yes, that's exactly what we're trying to do here. That's the entire freaking point. And gun control in and of itself is unconstitutional. So it's like, yeah.
Play yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But they always have some excuse. They always say, I remember before constitutional carry, that it's the phrase somebody said. I don't remember if it was you or I think it was Box. Blood. The streets are going to run red with blood. They always say this. The scare tactics, as you said. You know, they're always going to these nonsense, crazy themes that they think up that are never going to actually happen. They're just trying to scare people away from it. But I don't think that it's going to work this time for them.
I've heard some people saying, I've read some people saying that it's going to eliminate the background check, which
absolutely not. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't think it can do that. That's a federal thing. I mean,
correct.
There's not much we can do about that here.
Yeah.
That was a big misconception with the constitutional carry too. There was literally national groups publishing articles on their website saying that we are doing away with background checks in Iowa. No, that's not.
And the thing is they know that's not going to happen. They know they're actively lying to drum up their base. Like that, they know what's going on. That's politics. It's dirty politics.
100%. That's exactly all it is. That stuff just drives me nuts.
I had something else to say, but forget what it was. I did come across one quote here. I mean, we were talking about how this could affect or how this doesn't affect federal laws earlier. And I came across a quote in an article from the director of Drake University's Constitutional Law Center. And he said, there is a significant political element that wishes to either reinterpret the contemporary understanding of the amendment through overturning Supreme Court precedent by packing the court if necessary, or by itself, the coalition said in a statement. If such were to occur, the presence of the Freedom Amendment, what the IFC is adding to the Constitution, would preserve strong protection of those rights at the state level. So this is the quote why I asked you guys how this would affect federal laws. This quote kind of confused me. He's saying if the Supreme Court gets packed and they overturn Bruin once again, we kind of that doesn't really affect us. Am I interpreting this incorrectly, or how are you guys reading this?
Technically, as Dillon was saying earlier, federal law supersedes state law. Period. Yes. Period. Done. Over with. That's 100% what it is. So if something like that were to happen, say that does happen, say we lose the Senate and the House at a national level this upcoming election. Say they pack the Senate. They had 18 justices, whatever it is. It'd be an odd number, I guess. So whatever, 17.
Yeah. And
they overturn Bruin. Say that happens. And then gun control gets passed. Technically, at a state level, those federal laws still would apply to us. But here's the thing: this is what it depends on. If the leaders, our state elected leaders, are ballsy enough to stand up to them, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Dillon, I think you would agree with that.
Yep, absolutely.
Actually, Nathan just said in the comments something that clears it up, I think. I think he's got the right idea. He says he's saying if they got rid of the Second Amendment completely, state laws would then come into effect. I think that's probably a simpler explanation
for everything. He sounds like a smart guy.
Well, technically, yes, state laws would kind of come into effect. But if a federal law, say there's an assault weapons ban, that still applies to Iowa. The only way that it wouldn't apply to us is if our leaders, our governor, our Congress,
Attorney General,
decided that they're not going to enforce that in Iowa, in which case there would be a constitutional crisis, and in which case, it depends on how ballsy Iowans are. That it depends on how far that would progress.
Yeah.
So yeah, ultimately that's the only answer. It just depends on how ballsy Iowans are.
Yeah.
Satisfy your
Another bit of
question
a
box?
yeah, sure. Another another kind of box thought I had, more on the skeptical side of it, is like, what's really the point? I mean, we already have the Second Amendment federally and all these other laws, and it's pretty cut and dry, and everyone seems to, people with common sense understand it, but nobody pays attention to that shit anyways. They pass whatever the fuck they want anyways.
Mhm.
So what really is the point of doing it on a state level as well? They're just going to ignore that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand the point of it, of course, but that's just the skeptical side of me looking at things.
I believe it's the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution that extends the Second Amendment to the states. Might have to, I think that's right. I think it's the 10th Amendment extends the Second Amendment to the states. Or I could just be making some stuff up. I don't know, but I think that's right.
I will Google it.
So
1 second.
there's checks and balances. We truly live in the greatest country. It's the greatest experiment that's ever happened, and it works so well.
For a while.
The 10th
Yeah.
Amendment,
I might be making stuff up here.
it was ratified. Blah, blah, blah. It
It's okay, you're
expresses
not a lawyer.
principle. It expresses a principle of federalism, also known as states' rights, by stating that a federal government has only those powers delegated to it by the Constitution, and all other powers not forbidden to the states by the Constitution are reserved to each state. So I think that's kind of what you're referring to.
I think so.
Powers not forbidden to the states by the Constitution are reserved to the state. So unless it strictly says that the federal government has the power to do this, unless it explicitly says that in the Constitution, that those powers are reserved to the states. So yes,
okay.
I would say that you are correct in that assessment.
Right on.
But I don't know. Box, to your point, I mean, what does it matter? I kind of was of that same when this whole journey first started, I was kind of that same thought. Like, what does it matter? I guess. But ultimately, I think I view it as just another commitment of Iowans to freedom. In the last 10 years, I see Iowa's really been staunchly pro-freedom by consistently stepping up our rights. And I view this as just another stepping stone on our way to being one of the leaders for freedom in the states. And I'm proud of that, that I'm from Iowa and that we are making those steps. And I think it's awesome personally.
Another question I came upon was, some people argue that it's a separation of powers issue, that it's the legislature bossing around the courts and telling them what to do. What do you guys think of that? Is that a thing? Is that a concern?
It's definitely a thing. I mean, we've got 3 branches of government, and they all do their own thing. They all fight against each other. It's rare they ever work. They coincide. I mean, right now you got the current sitting president and the executive branch doing his thing, doing executive orders. He could say tomorrow we're banning assault weapons, AR-15s, whatever, AR-14s, all that good stuff, AR-47s. That could happen tomorrow, and then of course 2 years from now, the judicial branch it's going to go to the courts, right? If not, I mean, the Supreme Court didn't take up a single gun case for 10 years or so.
Yep.
So it could be another 10 years of another assault weapons ban tomorrow, and we'd wait, and people will be felons overnight. I don't comply with anything, so I mean I do, but I'm not turning anything in. and I don't think anybody else should. But that's your right. These three branches of government. They are checks and balances, and that's what all this stuff is about. This law is preemption. It's a check and it's a balance. It's putting power back in the people's hands by allowing us to vote on that. It's our decision. It's our choice.
Yep. Box, what was can you repeat the cliff notes of your question again?
Some people argue that it creates a problem for separation of powers, that it's the legislature bossing around the courts. I was asking if that was a concern.
No, I don't think so, because ultimately it's the court's decision to find. The only thing the court is supposed to do is adhere by the Constitution. So if they were truly did that, we wouldn't even have a need for this amendment. But it's clear that the courts do not follow that. Otherwise, gun control would not exist at all. I mean, every single gun control law would be struck down if they were following the Constitution. They're clearly not. So I view this as the legislature. I can't say that word.
We know what you mean. Just move past it.
Not bossing around, but exerting their power and what they need to be doing. Absolutely. So I don't view it as bossing them around. I view it as a necessary thing, because the courts don't always follow. So that's why we need those words in there: strict scrutiny. This is not to be trifled with, under only the most extreme circumstances. So I don't think it's pushing around. But as to the three branches of government, I mean, every single one is always trying to exert to get more and more and more power. Every single branch. I mean, look at what the executive branch is doing currently at a federal level. Every single, and this is not just Biden, although he's pushing it as far as he possibly can. Every president does this. Trump did the same thing, and the one before him, and the freaking every other president before him. They all try to expand the power of the executive branch. The same way with the legislature. They try to do the same freaking thing. The same way with the judicial branch. They're trying to legislate from the bench far too often. So they're all trying to do this bullshit. But I think we need to. So maybe, Box, to answer your question, yes, but fuck them. They need to be pushed around a little bit. I don't even care.
You started off with no at the beginning of that rant. At the end of it, I did. Turned around.
And then I talked myself into it a little bit. I was like, God damn, you ever have a conversation with yourself and it just turned myself right around.
You really turned into the White House speaker. Let's just circle back to that one. You're just walking yourself in circles here, Sam.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
I did have one more very broad question, but I don't think I need to ask it because it was supposed to be asked way at the beginning, but Nathan here has the answer to it. My question was, why is this important? And Nathan says this amendment ensures that it's an uphill battle or impossible to unravel what we have done in the last 10 years. I think that pretty well sums up what the point of this whole thing is.
100%.
Post-Bruin opinion, I think that's pretty much what it comes down to right there.
I agree. He said it well, and Nathan is actually part of IFC as well. What does Nathan do over there, Dillon?
Nobody knows.
Is he like the communications director or something like that?
No, so I'm actually communications director. Nathan is the vice president. He does a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Okay.
We all do a lot. A lot of it's behind the scenes.
Well, we appreciate you, and
yep.
Nathan, thanks for stopping by too, man. Absolutely. See, and Justin says, good point, Sam. See, somebody understands me. I'm not totally crazy.
Well, to be fair, he said that very early on in the rant.
Well, maybe he's just sucking up. I got one of his guns ripped apart right now, so he doesn't want to tick me off. He wants me to do a good job on it. Maybe I don't know.
That could be it. What gun is it?
Springfield Hellcat.
Just
a
throw
little
that thing
guy.
in the trash, anyways.
Those I don't hate those actually. As far as Springfields go, and I'll be honest, I'm not a Springfield fan. I think every XD should just be fucking melted down and thrown in the recycle bin. I despise those fucking things. But the Hellcats, they're not that bad. Like I was kind of surprised. Don't hate it.
To be fair, I haven't even seen one in person. I don't think so. My judgments are a little unfair.
I think they look ugly. I think they're goofy looking guns. They're like not like a real sharp looking gun, but they feel pretty nice in the hand. So I'll give them that. And I hear they shoot well. So I haven't shot one myself personally, but I don't despise them.
All about feeling nice in the hand.
Yeah, that's always an added benefit.
It's like a bag of sand.
Box, are you a virgin?
Shut up, Sam.
Anybody that don't know what we're talking about or what movie we're referencing right now is like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
I know it's a movie. I can't place it though. They're
convinced I'm a 33-year-old virgin now.
Yeah. Hope you got a big trunk because I'm gonna put my bike in it.
Okay, boy, we've really taken a hard left turn.
I went off the rails.
Does anybody else have anything to say about the Freedom Amendment? Is there anything we missed? Any questions we should ask, Dillon?
Any questions we should ask? I don't know. I don't have a whole lot. If I can make a plug for 2A Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our annual Second Amendment Day is possibly going to be the biggest one ever. I mean, not ever. Next year, after year, it's going to be even better. But we've actually got Chris Tonto Peranto of the Benghazi incident.
Oh,
he's our headlining speaker, and we've also got the PAC dinner, the IFC Political Action Committee dinner following that. But it'll be a pretty good event. And we're showing up to that's February 22nd, right? So 2/2/2. There's also Brownells has got a national 2A day as well. That's going to be always on 2/2/2. So February 22nd is going to be the new schedule. But yeah, that's about all I've got, I think. But
where's that going to be at?
For the Freedom Amendment. What's that?
Where's the 2A day going to be at?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. It's going to be the Iowa Capitol in the Rotunda. It'll be noon to 4, February 22nd.
Yeah.
Got it.
Interesting note. This just happened just within the last couple of years. The firearms. I'm not saying you should bring a bunch of guns to the Capitol. I'm just saying that Iowans can legally carry in the Capitol now. Is that correct, Dillon?
Conceal, yes.
All right.
So I can't think what year that was. If Nathan's in here, he'll pop in a minute and tell us. But it might be a 2017 thing there. There was so much stuff in the omnibus bill. It was all good. It was an excellent year. But it was just a couple years ago. Yeah. So essentially now, especially with constitutional carry, you basically just walk in and say, "Hey, here's my driver's license. I'm carrying. It's my right hip. See you later." Like you used to have to present your permit to carry and your ID. And you walk through the metal detector, you empty your pockets for whatever reason. But yeah, since constitutional carry passed, we also now you just show your ID and say you're carrying. But yeah, just in the last couple of years, you're allowed to carry at the state capitol, and that's not very common across the country.
No. I was in Denver a few weeks ago. Totally unrelated story, but we were going into some random restaurant, or it was I think it was a bar. It was kind of on the strip there, and I was carrying concealed, appendix, and the two girls that were with us, they, can I see your purse, and flashlighted and rifled through their purse and everything. And to me, they're like, "What's up, dude?" And, let me go in. I'm like, what the,
Yeah.
what, how does this make any sense security wise at all? I'm the one carrying a weapon here, and you didn't even look at me, which I'm not complaining. Like that was great. I would have left if they were wanting people, but it's like, this makes no friggin' sense whatsoever. But all right, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Enjoy your night.
Yeah. They legally can't really bar you. I mean, as long as it's not a school property or federal property, they can't bar you from carrying. I mean, if they don't know about it, they can't kick you out.
Right. And
kind of neat.
I didn't know. I don't know exactly what Denver's laws were.
Oh, Denver. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in Denver. I didn't know exactly what their laws were surrounding that. So, I wasn't going to take a chance if they were checking guys or whatever, but
yeah,
I don't know. It worked out.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if that's that, Dillon, I rudely interrupted you as you were trying to tell people to get out and vote. You can, if you want to go ahead and shut that conversation down and say what you want to say, your final thoughts on that, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Dillon Doffba. I am the communications director for the Iowa Firearms Coalition. I'm going to encourage you to flip your ballot over and vote. If you can, vote early. I just voted yesterday. You can walk into your county courthouse and request a ballot and be done and over with. Otherwise, November 8th, flip your ballot over, bottom right corner, and check yes, please.
Absolutely. Vote yes for freedom.
That's right.
Freedom.
America.
I got, you probably haven't seen it, Sam. I have Braveheart for the thumbnail.
I did. I love it. Love it.
Okay, well, I suppose we should move on. Actually, if you wanna get out of here, Dillon, that's fine. Or do you want to stick around? Either way is fine with us.
I should
We'd love
probably
to
get
have you
over
stick around.
to the wife, but I can probably stick around for a little bit longer.
Okay,
I'll
yeah, it
stick
shouldn't be
around
too much longer. Okay, cool. I mean, show kind of sucks when it's just me and Sam. So,
Hey,
All good.
I mean, Sam's not interesting at all. Okay.
No,
well,
I enjoy it.
Okay, well, what's our next topic, Sam? What do you want to talk about?
poverty pony. If you're a gun guy, you have heard that phrase. Tell me, you both know exactly what I'm talking about. Poverty pony. You guys know.
Yeah.
You guys know exactly what that means, don't you?
Yep.
Box.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this was only, and this kind of this was weird. It kind of came out of the blue. Well, Anderson, if you're not familiar with this, Anderson, they have little ponies on their AR-15s, and they're cheaper, bottom, lower end rifles. So people have labeled them poverty ponies. Well, they have since came out with their first pistol, which is a Glock 19 Gen 3 clone, which I was kind of blindsided by this the other day. I saw this. This is like only one yesterday or maybe the day before I saw this. I thought it was a joke. Like, what the hell? But yes, they have actually came out with their new pistol. It's called the Anderson Kiger, I believe is how it's pronounced. Anderson Kiger 9C. And like I said, it's just it's nothing super exciting. It's just a Glock 19 Gen 3. But the frame, and there's a ton of companies doing this. They're far from the only one doing this. PSA Dagger. There's a ton of other ones. But this frame, it looks like almost like a I don't know, like a Strike Industries frame almost. It's not a bad looking frame, but the whole pistol itself looks like someone it just looked like someone assembled it at home. I mean, they just looks kind of like an aftermarket whole entire gun, which is what it is. So it's I find it very interesting though that Anderson decided to get into this market. And also of note, the MSRP on this is $429, which I think is a ballsy move on their part, because Palmetto State Armory released their dagger. That's been a year or so ago now, maybe more than that. And that's exactly what this is. It's a Glock 19 Gen 3 clone as well. But their sale price on that is going at $400. So, but now that I think about it, MSRP generally it goes a little bit below that. So I wonder if this is going to be selling right about at that range too. I don't know.
They're going for 4.
I suppose. Yeah. Okay. So that makes more sense. That would make more sense. I guess I kind of forgot that MSRP is just higher than what they usually go for. It does ship with one Magpul magazine. So I don't know. I know that there's going to be a shitload of haters. I've already seen a ton of haters on this. Just saying, poverty pony, Glock, why the hell would you ever buy this? But it's pretty hard to fuck up a Glock 19, personally. I think this is going to be a fine gun for, I'm not saying you should go out and buy it. I'm saying the damn thing is going to go boom when you pull the trigger. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I think that's a pretty bold statement. Pretty hard to
Yeah.
fuck up a Glock 19. I mean, did your 80%, how does that function? Don't you have a 19 with that same frame that runs like dog shit?
It's a polymer 80. No, it had a few issues, but it also wasn't a factory Glock. But interestingly enough, Dillon, did you see that I printed a Glock 19 frame the other day?
Yeah.
Fucker runs like a top. I've only put a few magazines through it.
It looks good. It looks really good too.
Yeah, it turned out awesome. But I took it out the other day, and mind you, this is a fully 3D printed frame and a fully 3D printed magazine. She ran like a freaking top. So
Nice.
yes, it is a bold statement saying that it's hard to fuck up a Glock 19. But I mean, honestly, I don't, I just don't like see this as a horrible. I can't imagine it's going to be that bad, I should say. Maybe I'm wrong.
And maybe you're thinking it's going to be that bad, but is it going to be good enough to be $400? Where you can probably get, I mean, it's Anderson. They've got a reputation.
Right. They do have a reputation, but, and I guess this will lead us into the pores conversation. There's like, I think there's a lot of actually, I applaud Anderson for what they've done. They've put out a shitload of ARs and they made them more common use. So ultimately, and this is the same as Palmetto State Armory. Ultimately, they got a ton of these guns in the civilian hands and they're more common use, which in fact makes it harder to ban them. Ultimately, that's the way that I view Anderson. And I do a ton of lower end stuff in the Cerakote shop, obviously, Anderson, stuff like that. And a lot of guys will just buy an Anderson lower and then build a whole gun around it. And a lot of them will use nice, decent mid-range parts around it. But anytime they post it on the internet, you're like, hey, they're proud of the gun they built, as they should be. That's a cool friggin' thing,
Mm-hmm.
And then all you get from guys in the comments on Facebook, which doesn't matter, but still, it's just fucking poverty pony, you dipshit. What'd you build that shit for? And all this stuff. It's like, dude, I don't understand that the fucking hatred. And it's the same way that you see like Olight. If you ever go into a Glock group and post a picture of a Glock with an Olight on it, I guarantee within the first 5 comments, somebody will call you a fucking idiot for running an Olight. It never fails.
Yeah.
So as the whole conversation as it pertains to this whole poor conversation, like why are we like that? Why is our culture such fucking dicks when it comes to that? I don't understand it.
The gun community is the absolute worst, and I keep the gun community separate from the the Second Amendment community. Like they're not one and the same. Like the gun community just tears themselves apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun to watch though. Like I do enjoy it. I stay out of it most of the time. Anymore, I hate notifications, so I stay out of it most of the time. But I like watching.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you make a valid point there. I guess the 2A community, as far as 2A rights and stuff goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a valid point, I guess. But yeah, the gun community is, and maybe it's just an online thing.
I think so. Yeah. I've never had a. I mean, I've got I've got one Anderson lower, and I've got a Geisig trigger in it. It's just a lower. I've got a Geisig trigger in it. I've got a BCM upper, and it's the only cheap part of it is that lower. And the core control is there. Like it's going to function fine. It's just a lower. It's not. An upper is a little different, but it's
exactly
either an issue or it's not. And this one I've had for so damn long now. It's not going to have any issues.
Freaking Geisley is top tier stuff.
Yeah.
Freaking Bravo Company manufacturing is some of the best shit that you can get. I love that, by the way, that you stuck a freaking Anderson lower on there. And that's
it was the first gun ever built.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the first one I ever built was a DPMS because it was a freaking cheap, affordable lower. And here's the thing. If it is in spec, it doesn't fucking matter. It's going to run just like any other freaking lower. It does not matter in the least bit. But we tear ourselves apart, and it does nothing but harm our community. Like somebody that's so happy to get their new badass new toy. Ooh, look what I got. Look what I did. I built this. Instead of like applauding it, hell yeah, man, that's freaking awesome. The gun community does nothing but tear them down. It just freaking drives me nuts. So I foresee the same sort of situation going on with this shit, like I don't know if you're gonna want to like scratch out that Anderson logo on the slide or what, but goddamn, it's just horrible.
I mean, it's a step up from Grip Zone.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. I will judge the shit out of you if you're running an XD. I'm not gonna lie.
Used to, like when I first got into guns. I mean, I'm only 32. I started buying guns and assembling ARs in like 2009, 10. And one of my first purchases was an XD. It was a gift, so it doesn't count, right? But
Box, I've seen you smirking kind of a lot of my comments here. What's your opinion on this whole thing?
I was smirking at was that a smirk? I don't know. I was more of a scoff, I guess, at as long as it's in spec, it's going to run. Well, just because not every Anderson lower is going to be in spec. That's the problem with Anderson, is their quality control is absolute fucking garbage. And there's a lot of lowers that are not in spec, and there are weak points in the metallurgy and shit like that. That's why Anderson they have the reputation that they do.
That's a possibility, but I will tell you what. I have done dozens and dozens of Andersons, and I've yet to run across an issue with one in the shop. But I've ran across many issues with AR lowers. I'm just saying Anderson has not been one of them. I'm not
define an issue.
An out of spec issue, some part of the lower, whether that was a bolt catcher or something like that was not quite in spec, that caused me issue, that I had to mess with, that I had to adjust, that I had to fix or replace. Anderson has not been any of those up until this point. And I'm not saying that they're an awesome company. I'm not at all. I'm not saying that they're fucking fabulous, or all the shit that they put out is wonderful. That's not what I'm saying. I just think it's one of those things like Nickelback. Everybody fucking hates Nickelback. Have you actually listened to their songs? They're not. The rap that they get is fucking horrible compared to I'm sorry, but Nickelback is a decent band. I'm not saying they're awesome. They ain't that bad, guys. Come on.
I don't know if I would compare Nickelback to Anderson because Nickelback, it's like a fad to hate them. So no matter what they put out, the cool thing is to hate them. Where
Right.
Anderson, it's quality control with Anderson. Like they've got serious issues. I'm not saying Nickelback does or doesn't, but Anderson's got or can have issues. I've got one lower. I bought it 10 years ago, and there wasn't that much availability for buying lowers, stripped lowers at the time. So like that's probably why I have mine back then, or bought it back then. But now there's so many options out there now, and so many good quality options.
Right.
So
right. But you said it's a fad to hate Nickelback. Well,
yeah, it's just like the internet to control that.
But that's
like,
exactly what it is with Anderson.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess that 8 out of 10 people that hate on Andersons in the Facebook groups have never fucking held one, have never seen one, let alone seen an actual problem with one. They've learned to hate them, and that's the same way with Olight, and the same way with all these other things that people hate. They learn that from other people. So technically, it's still. I think it's an internet fad. So I think it's justifiable to compare that to Nickelback.
I guess, yeah.
I think that's a pretty poor analogy.
How so?
Nickelback is, whether you like or dislike them, is 100% subjective. It's opinion. Whereas Anderson, it's a physical object, and it can be proved without a doubt that a product is poor. It's not subjective. If it's a shitty product, it's a shitty product. Whereas Nickelback,
have you seen? And I agree. I understand what you're saying. I totally understand that, and that's a fair point. I would agree with that. But my question have you seen any Anderson products in person? Have you ever ran across any that didn't work? Have you seen any out of spec ones? Or has the entirety of your opinion on Anderson been formed from online conversations?
I don't really have an opinion on them. I just know that they have a reputation, and I'm going to steer clear of them. No, I don't have a personal experience with them. Do you have a personal experience shooting any of them? Running mini mags through the not fucking function checking that shit. Running four fucking rounds through them to see if they're firing before you send them off. I mean, actually running one and seeing if it's gonna fail, or any other reason that's not your own fault.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't have a ton.
Thank you.
And I'm not saying they're wonderful guns. I'm just saying I think a lot of their shit is internet based. A lot of the hatred for them. And but anyways, back to this gun. Do you foresee the whole hatred for Anderson being an issue with their sales of this gun? Or do you think they're going to sell like hotcakes?
No, it won't be an issue. Their same clientele that buy all their lowers and rifles are going to buy this too.
Cheap sells.
100% I couldn't agree with that anymore. Shooting Illustrated says for almost 70 years, Anderson Manufacturing has been a leader in precision manufacturing and innovation.
I read that. Yeah, they are innovative.
We're known for our lower receivers and rifles. We saw an opportunity to apply our unrivaled engineering and technology to a new design and deliver a high quality, ultra reliable, and value priced handgun to the market.
I read that same thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of laughed at the whole precision engineering. Did you just see this comment? Justin said, "This is a fantastic idea, and you should definitely do it. Sam's next build is an Anderson upper and lower and a Nickelback theme." That will go. That will 100%. That will 100% go viral, man. That's your next Bush Light gun.
All right. Yeah. I could get behind that, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh boy, Sam probably likes that I'm a Barbie girl song also. Oh God. There's I don't know.
I can't scroll through all the comments.
I just hate the I just hate I hate this because somebody told me to hate this culture,
Yeah.
I guess, that we live in. And I'm sure that that I'm probably that way with some things, you know, I'm probably a hypocrite when it comes to that on, you know, some aspects. But that shit just drives me nuts. No, I justifiably hate XDs from my own personal many experiences with those giant piles of shit. It's like the engineers, it's like the engineers, they got together and they were smoking a ton of weed and they were like, all right, we're going to take as many little possible parts as we possibly can and we're just going to jam them in the back end of this thing and we're going to see how many we can fit in there. It's just atrocious. I fucking hate those things. And the grip zone, like how high were you when you thought that was a good idea? Like, and then label it, like, got to write in there grip zone on the fucking, like, you don't know where to grip. You think, like, we should make a video box of you know, gripping the wrong fucking part of it. You're like, oh my God. Like the
That
pistol
should be
part.
banned.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Okay. Rant over. I'm good.
Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm going to make a little bit of a clip there from that little rant taken out of context.
Why? What did I
something
say?
about see how many things you can jam in through the backside or something?
Son of a bitch.
We have a question in here. Do you think that part of the rep comes from it being cheap, that new people buy it more often, and them not knowing proper gun knowledge to fix it or operate it properly? Like Sam putting them together after doing work for them, since he knows how to operate guns, he's able to make sure things are set correctly versus a noob having no idea.
I don't know. I mean, there could be a few issues, a few things like that, possibly. But I mean, overall, I think maybe a little bit. But overall, I think what these other two guys were talking about is their quality control is just not spectacular. I think that could probably play some aspect in it. Absolutely. People that are new and don't know what the fuck they're doing. Maybe. But I don't think it's going to play a significant role in their issues. No.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like those same people are the same people that think one issue or one malfunction every 100 rounds is doing good. Like, well, it only failed to eject once in that box of ammo. That's pretty good, right? So, and it's I don't know. That's one side of it, I guess.
That's another thing that drives me nuts in the gun community is there's like a known issue with something. Something is fucking wrong with this gun, and you'll post about it in a Facebook group, and somebody will be like, boy, I got that same gun and I've never had any issues with it, you know, and that they'll just say, since their experience in that gun has been okay, that must mean that the whole fucking line of them is fine. And I guess I'm kind of taking the other side of it now. That this is kind of the counter argument to my point. Just because your experience with a gun is okay, don't fucking post that. I don't know what you're talking about. You're full of shit. My gun runs great, so that must mean this box. I think you've had a rant about this before. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I listened to a podcast about this exact thing the other day. Actually, that was pretty interesting. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't remember ranting about it, but yeah, just because of your own experiences, you're willing to totally ignore all the mountains and mountains of other evidence just because you've had one different experience with it.
Right. Yeah. That's an issue that I was just experiencing the other day, actually. UPS and FedEx changing their shipping rules to make it harder to ship to us to me as a manufacturer to get repair work done. And I posted about it in the groups, the Cerakote groups, and essentially the massive overwhelming response to it was, well, I'm not having any issues, so I don't care. It can't be an issue. Well, no shit. You can still get away with it, but here is the issue that it says on the UPS and FedEx website. They've changed their policies. It's going to be more difficult. And people refuse to open their eyes and acknowledge it simply because they haven't had an issue yet. It hasn't bit them in the ass yet. Like I think that's a human nature thing. Like somebody will warn us of something, and unless it's a problem for us yet, we're fucking oblivious to it. And that shit just, that just drives me nuts. Just drives me bonkers. I think that's human nature, though. I mean, we're naturally stupid.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Don't even lie.
Over here.
I think it's whatever. But I digress. Anyway, Sam's rant over.
Okay. Well, do you have any thoughts, Dillon, or should we let you go?
I got no thoughts, man. It's been good.
All right. Well, then I suppose we're gonna go ahead and end the show there, unless there's anything else that needs mentioned, Sam. But
I don't think so.
Remembering.
I think we pretty much covered whatever we intended to. And somebody did comment in here that they were watching from the app, and they were commenting from the app as well. Everything was working perfect. So go and join that. I did notice one thing though, Box. In order for you to sign into Discord on our app, I think you have to have the Discord app downloaded on your phone as well. Nope. Are you sure about that?
Yep. I set it. Okay. I had this all set up before I even had Discord. So I never
maybe
had,
that was
I only downloaded the app because it's easier.
Okay. All right. But yeah, go check out the app. You can watch this whole freaking thing here and talk to us and everything. You can listen to all our old podcasts. You can watch the videos. You can join the Facebook group and talk there. You can browse the forum on our website. You can buy shit off our website. You can do everything on there. So it's a pretty slick app. Box, he did well when he built that app. Good job, Box.
I didn't really do much. I just mostly put some stuff on a website and was like, I want this on here. You're like, okay.
Nobody needs to know that.
If it actually took any effort or money, I would have been like, nope, fuck this. But anyways, yes, be sure to get out and vote on November 8th. Back of the ballot, vote yes for the Freedom Amendment. And that is important. That's what we're here about. Get out and do that. Remember, 2A Day will be February 22nd next year at the Iowa Capitol. I'm sure we'll probably talk about that between now and then. And I think that's all we have for you tonight. So thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Be sure to listen to our entire catalog of podcasts on most major podcast providers and also on our website. If you enjoy what we do and you want to help support the show, check out our Subscribe Star page for exclusive content and other benefits. If you want to get more involved with the community, join our forum on lifeshortlivefree.com or download the Life Short Live Free app, The Freedom Gospel. If you aren't aware, Gears and Beers is streamed live every other Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Time on YouTube, Twitch, and our website. We would love for you to come get in on the conversation. Check out our sponsors, Shyworks at shyworks.com and on Facebook, along with Ballistic Imagery at ballisticimagery.com and also on Facebook. And that's the show, folks. Send us away, Sam.
All right. Yeah. Dillon, thank you for coming on, man. It was great. We enjoyed it and appreciated it. And yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. Till we talk to you next time. Remember, life short, live free. God bless. God bless the United States of America.
Defund the ATF.
Repeal the NFA.
Hell yeah.